The Intel-Modernized Governing Establishment is first constitutional governance. The FML fire is a permanent rendezvous of three sovereigns' constitutional victory and the place of happy beginnings. From here, each youth on occupational maturity wins his and her own way through the lettered archways to find a place to earn and to build a foundation of home, wealth within the set earthen range of inequality. Glory emanates from the centers of the first and second constitutional defenses and from the events on continental high. Overhead, the pre-Olympic summit in the host nation, the 6 ring-emblazoned black wings of jets fly. Below, the capitalist Ltd economic tracks of each nation are protected. From within the mist that cloak the nation in the IQ hour, in the COC National Moving Summit, the emblems and ambassadors of the three sovereigns appear, and constitutional success by a COC nation is won. And around the COC Stars, the capital of love beauties raise the flags of nations, according to three sovereigns' success to mark the status of the nation as independent. This all-world glory is expressed, too, in the good life to be found by the sovereign individual through the FML fire's archways that lead to the 333 capitalist Ltd Olympic spirit infused economy. The greatness of humanity echoes as each youth formally enters the economy through the FML fire, because it is with this first constitutional solidarity that the national troopers can respectively cross the bomb. The bridges of medallions from every side to the 3 Cooperative Security Centers. The FML fires develop the highways, taxways, and capways through the digital plateau for the 333 economy to thrive, while the gates of the 5s of occupational death are burned through and sealed in the old money. New forms are given life, and the old forms die. Mono-denomination of wealth money. That last bastion of those old capitalist excesses is from every COC nation tossed out into the sub-constitutional swamp of its own making. As the money is upgraded to set the home denominations of wealth in the constitutional law-abiding relations, the gold composite coins circulate in the East Paradise corporations, and the Intel-friendly digital currency crisscross the economic polities West. 2 orders of good constitutional governance are activated. What more than first executive competence and second-order cooperative national security of the capitalist Ltd economy could we ask of the sovereign state to fulfill? The eastbound Paradise Corporation, the greater cities, and second-order forces are established as the economic fields of wealth to build to 3-class heights. Growing up here, only 1 in a million would will relapse to raw foundational blight. The money in the double blue digisphere becomes invisible vis-a-vis the city lawns and houses of the 3-class structure, and all from Yum are 2 freedoms free. Who among us all, medallioned and with a place, is going to revolt against the cities of light, the orders and balances, and constitutional competence and cooperation everywhere in sight? On point, the cooperative security competitive games dynamic understood, we can elevate to a world of nations wherein we do not have to sacrifice our freedoms, and rather we become sovereign with our first freedom for national security. Accountable to a man, to the 3 and national class rule guarding Intel-Modernized Governor, the constitutionally and not self-interested intelligence in each FML fire. We realize constitutional security and capitalist Ltd economic freedom with each economic transaction. First constitutional governance, in vertical international parallel, is convenience and efficiency par excellence, as foundational freedom and duty are replicated and fulfilled with each economic transaction. Given the availability of the suite of necessarily capitalist Ltd institutions and businesses, we hone freedom to the respectable range and withdraw it from the capitalist, unlimited economic excesses. And so at the same time, as the 2 freedoms per love capita are in order from the first constitutional centers, the second-order forces are elevated to engage in equality of national security as a sole mission from the 3 cooperative centers on Continental High. On point, the House of the IMG era admonishes us that there isn't and has never been a war to end all wars. To achieve world peace and economic justice, it is necessary to develop the FML FIRE as the universal city centers of first constitutional foundation, money law government, a 333 capitalist Ltd economy thereof, and elevated second-order layer of national security with the police, national defense, and cooperative security forces. Each FML FIRE is the layer of the ocular envoys of DOL. From behind the curtains of fire in the City of Light emanate the constitutional vision to see through to govern the foundation money law, and it is this, first and foremost, that gives shape to the capitalist Ltd economy and power to the cooperative security competitive games dynamic. It is because we are accountable with the Intel-coded architectural keys to the FML FIRE. Each COC nation is elevated in double blue constitutional splendor with the one divide, and in national security with 2 orders of city and continentally centered forces. Each FML FIRE is the center of constitutionally interested governance that keeps the highways, taxways, and capways of the capitalist Ltd economy in favor of economic justice and world peace. The gravity of the first foundation money law center draws in our accountability, that we can give life to the suite of necessarily capitalist Ltd businesses, institutions, and home denominations of wealth and vitality to the 3 and national class ruling structure. Each nation's military forces gain the trust of first constitutional competence to cross over the constitutionally interested cooperative security centers and to make city centers everywhere as targets to move the Apex West technologies into. It is a historic luxury and modern necessity that the police and national security forces can be elevated by the sum of the first constitutional institutions and architectures to the second order, while all individuals can gain an era's elevation to have true choice and foundational security of mind with a 3 and national class ruled and 3 competitive intense economy. 3 and national class ruled home DAO integral cities enable each person from Yum to actualize a dream towards the good life, the old money, tool of artificial scarcity and hyper-artificial debt, with the forces of trauma wane and slither back into the void of a black hole in the tombs of fear. Our IMG establishment patrols the double blue one divide and so fine-tunes the escape velocity, a foundational evil from the tombs of fear at a speed beyond sound. As the aspirations to profit of occupational death are silenced into obscurity, the 333 capitalist Ltd economy in performance and show is all that is on. Calm reigns with intermingled grandeur in the world of 2 orders of 3 sections, constitutional national security. The IMG establishment is a historic luxury and a modern necessity, because as the capacity in vertical international parallel to evolve the old capitalist unlimited excesses into the suite of necessarily capitalist Ltd institutions and businesses is our collective elevation to the good constitution, an era above the forces that would undo and destroy us. The unfledged paradises can fledge, and Western extremism can be forgotten. The H1 to 24 tier appraised homes build a 3-class structure into the greatest cities, and all women and men from Yum are with 2 freedoms health endowed. Tigers and phoenixes are given life as the suite of necessarily capitalist Ltd institutions and businesses, and so we can all finally vanquish to the tomb of fear and guard against any resurrection of the capitalist unlimited economic corpse of death. As the national defense forces are enabled to advance to the second order of national security and to the cooperative security centers across the BOM, so the COC nations are no longer hostage to a fully grey-governed wartime economy. All COC nations of the IMG era gain the good dimensions of the capitalist LTD economy and fulfill their national security mandate from the constitutional centers in the cities and on continental heights. From within 4 houses and 7 electric blue and gilded gates, each COC national's home denomination of wealth medallion is embedded, and the order of to freedom health is received the same. And with these FML fires is the realization of the first constitutional governance of the ever-present foundation money law and the trust in constitutional competence to set the 2 orders of constitutional government and the ministries and agencies of grey government into operative adjacency. These 4 houses give shape to the FML fire, the first constitutional centre of each city wherein is instantiated one divide controlling government. These 4 houses of the first constitutional centres ably build up the 3 and national class ruling structure, empower the trust to give rise to the 3-point centres, the House of Freedom, the House of the Inter-COC Stars and the Inter-COC Balance, the House of Risky Business, the House of the East Paradise Corporation. The F of Fire is the House of Freedom. In this house, the non-risky and thus maximum privacy designated economic transactions are verified as 3 sections constitutionally correct or denied as incorrect. The R of Fire is the House of Risky Businesses, the taxways and capways across which the capitalist LTD suite of institutions and businesses can be paid are facilitated among the lot of transactions that are to be read to the minimum privacy designation. Of note, the second constitutional police forces on guard in the city centre and in the 1 divide precincts throughout the cities belong, rhetorically, to the 3rd house. The I and E of Fire are the 2 houses that differ from the others in so far as being unrelated to 2 orders of foundation money law governance. In the I of Fire are staffed the officers and experts in charge with the 3-class rule house and housing demographic, the eastbound paradise, and City West economic development, the West industry trade rules, and the coordination of all Gen 1 to 7 activity from the COC National Star. In league with constellations of I-house government is the 4th house of the FML fire, known as the House of the East Paradise Corporation. Whereas in the era of full grey government, we were subject to having our nation represented by a single city and retarded by a single currency, such that euros dominated France, dollars America, and yuan China. In the IMG era, each city is invested with constitutionally interested eyes at its FML fire scored centre to secure the links between the home denominations of wealth. The various names of the FML fire reflect its universal worth as the modern necessity and the historic luxury to lift us above the chaos of the old raw money foundation and beyond competitive international military madness. Other names for the FML fire are thus the Constitutional Citadel, the House of the IMG era, the First Constitutional Centre, the First Constitutional FML fire, First Constitutional Law Centre, the Foundation Money Law Centre, the Freedom Centre, the Houses of Freedom, the Houses of Risky and Non-Risky Business, the Lower First Point Centre, the First Homeland Security Centre, the First National Security Centre, the Greater City Centre, Capital of Life Central, City of Light Central, the First Centre, First Freedom Centre, ROC Central, the Constitutional Intelligence Agency, the 3 and National Class Rule Guard, Capital of Love Central, the 4KS Fire, and the 4KS Diamond. With the ministries, agencies, and departments of grey government at the periphery, the FML fire is the centre of every city and town, major and minor. The reality of upgrading the money system and entering the IMG era is then that every city and town, the world round, is FML fire scored. First constitutional governance is established in vertical international parallel to align every place with architectural highways, capways, and taxways that we can give life to and be on guard of the capitalist Ltd Olympic spirit infused economy and the suite of capitalist Ltd institutions and businesses, while putting an end to the 5 old capitalist unlimited excesses. This high constitution technology is our way to evolve out of the morbid capitalist unlimited extremes that retarded us and kept full the grey governments, and to have those evil occupations and that pre-intelligent statehood permanently stilled in the sub-constitutional abyss known as the Tomb of Fear. First constitutional governance elevates each city an era above the raw money foundation. The eyes of Intel-Modernized Governance see through the top of the double blue one divide that is translucent to it. In order to secure the channels of IFDC money, the links between home denominations of wealth and the capitalist Ltd economy's 3 and national class ruling structure, by virtue of the light intelligence in Paris, as in Bordeaux, in Washington as in Denver, and in Suzhou as in Beijing, every Frenchman, American and Han Chinese is 2 freedoms free within an economy kept at an earthen range of inequality and protected through the equality of national security mandate, bringing all elites from the Martian heights into the upper of the 3 classes upon gold and digital plateau-leveled national ground. 3G head and home medallions are everywhere in economic play, and the suite of necessarily capitalist Ltd institutions and businesses are everywhere guarded. According to CSAC, meaning the competitive spirit and capacity of each woman and man, all from Hume free to earn and build the H1 plus E1 plus home wealth, infused economy, and the 2 governing defenses of the constitutional laws. How thinly populated the jails and asylums in such a world, foundational security of mind respected, and how rare the rebellions against the 3 and national class ruling structure, full grey government amended. Alas, pity as we deliver justice to the 1 in a million who will not let the morbidities of theological and capitalist unlimited economic extremes die a permanent death in the Tomb of Fear. The FML fire is neither the Kaaba, laced in green jewels, the aligned mosques, nor is it the Vatican Basilica, wherein is also found Allah, the God. It is the house of the IMG era, whence is issued constitutionally interested light, and in the architecture of the triple 3 economy, good government's envoys course the freeways at sight. It is our will to open the highways and tax and capways, the DOL, to see our capitalist Ltd economy true, to build it with 3 oceanic digital realms, and light up of the one divide, double blue. Detach then from the earthly hell, the chim, pure grey laws, and prices inflated from Martian heights. Take up a medallion against the 5 old evils. There's power uncorrupted in city-centered light. Each gains equality of national security. Respective national troops crossed, compassed east-west humanity matures, with fields contiguous, no longer lost. The head of death, from Martian heights, rose in full grey chaos to offer doom. Freedom's mounts takes all in vertical parallel, cities of light aglow, free all from Hume. The once formidable Martian heights class has no longer free money buoyed roads. Home Dow integrity and 3-class structure settles for grey government lightened workloads. The FML fires have been kindled, opened ablaze in all ways by golden digital shafts. First constitutional government is a dyad. Above, star-spangled circles. Below, democracy's ideals last. 4 walls and 7 gates, redound to each city of light's universal fame, and all that old wind and tribal fury in the constitutional blight of fully grey-governed world dies back. The 2 governing defences of constitutional law, 3 interoperative sovereigns, the cooperative security competitive games dynamic, the one divide, home Dow integrity, and the Triple Three Capitalist Ltd Olympic Spirit, Infused Economy are all formulations that speak to the superiority of the IMG era over what went before and what we may have let happen. On Pallav Capita accountability to the three constitutional law-guided Intel-Modernized Governor, from as many cities in vertical international parallel, we support a share of our troops to cross over to the Cooperative Security Centers and to become well-placed and in good composition to seize the arms and dark brain race, robots of strong AI included, and to avoid falling into a Martian Heights-imposed digital ID and currency system. First constitutional governance is realized on the upgrade of the money system to one of gold composite currency in the eastbound Paradise corporations, an Intel-friendly digital currency, an electronic currency that, emergencies aside, is the exclusive currency to be transacted from architecturally coded money pieces within the translucent zone of the double blue one divide. With our medallion support, the one divide is an IFDC money exclusive zone of 3, a national class-ruled economic construction, and from each city center there is constitutionally interested governance of the foundation money law, seeing DPX wide from every FML fire at once to maintain the structure of the capitalist Ltd economy. The digital plateau embraces the three-class-ruled city economy and cuts its three constitutional boundaries. The occupations of necessity are protected and error above the excesses below. The eastbound Paradise corporations become the economic complements to the West, and the police and armed forces are elevated to the second order of national security. It is all 21 highways and the 9 cap and taxways that keep these occupations of freedom and the suite of necessarily capitalist Ltd institutions and businesses up and running, while at the same time shutting down the 5 occupational evils of death. Constitutional health in a COC nation begins with the IMG establishment. 3 classical institutions are encoded with the architectures to expand light through the upper blue zone of the one divide. This top and economically active layer comes to be known as the digital plateau. The 3 sets of digital architectures, the home pyramids of wealth and the snowflakes and the lettered shadows, the inter-freedom highways, taxways and capways, and Intel-modernized governance combine to build the digital plateau. These apex West technologies help to spell victory for every COC nation, with the 3 GDP level playing fields of occupational freedom and with 2 governing defenses of the constitutional laws to defeat the no longer necessary occupational excess let on by full grey government. And so an era above the bleeding chaos of FML, blind full grey government. The COC nations are rich and less rich with the diversity of constitutionally fed occupations in the backlands, wilds and paradises, east roads of the eastbound Paradise corporations, in the greater cities and towns, and in the second-order national security forces. The architectural institutional triad enables government to mobilize itself from an old catatonic and blind full grey state to the lightning-quick sight of IMG in the ever-present realm of foundation one money law, with full grey governing non-governance and malgovernance of the FML. We are lost in the mono-denomination of wealth money gridlock, 100% man-made law, and an unrelenting competitive international military madness. With good governance of the FML, we are each 2 freedoms free to earn money and build home wealth. We gain the necessary balance of constitutional, universal laws and the relative grey laws, and our respective national defense forces receive our support to elevate to the second order of national defense in and in tandem with the Cooperative Security Centers. In sum, the innovation of Intel-Modernized Governance in vertical international parallel and the 3 Cooperative Security Centers held high by as many FML fire pillars have us recover from the former era's wild, full grey government, abetted, crime and corruption-filled economy. The IMG establishment refers to the sum of the first constitutional institutions and architectures. It is the application of what is variously referred to as Apex West technology, High Constitution technology, the DPX triad, the FML fire establishment, the IMG-era triad, and the CA in CI triad. Snowflakes and lettered shadows encode and H1 plus home denomination of wealth. Faceted pyramids embed the 3G head and home medallions, the credit cards and every other economically operative card in the necessarily cashless Greater City West. These cells and home pyramids are the architectures of accountability and wealth built into our personal West Bank cards. The IFC money freeways include the 21 inter-freedom highways and 9 destination canals, that is the taxways and capways. These are architectures built into the in-shop and online bases, aka IFDC transaction machines, to link all 3G head and home medallions to be able to transaction money within the top strata of the double blue one divide. Intel-Modernized Governance is built into 2 houses of each city central FML Fire to read the transactions between West Bank accounts according to the interlocutor's respective maximum and minimum privacy designations. It is the Intel-Modernized Government's eye in the form of the DOL. The dragons, ochres, and lions that travel to the in-shop and online bases to gather in the architectures of the medallions in transaction and report back to the FML fires. These digital plateau elevating technologies facilitate all individuals to earn, spend and transact IFDC money within a 3-class ruled West as they enable the securitization of the suite of necessarily capitalist LTD institutions and businesses. The House of the IMG establishment, as such, is first governing competence that outmodes and makes obsolete the old demand for absolute economic privacy, as was provided by the old money, by the full grayness of man-made law, and by the non-governance of the foundation money law. On the building of the highways, taxways and capways, the digital plateau gives shape to the capitalist LTD economy. This is the high constitution tech elevated Western world that comprises 2 of the 3 economic fields and contains all Western businesses, markets, occupations, and powers 2 orders of national security. The DP is a landscape of all earning, spending, and transacting of the exclusive Intel-friendly digital currency, and it is the way to set the freestanding home denominations of wealth in relation. The IMG establishment operative within the top layer of the one divide is developed in the COC national cities and military bases nationally and on continental high, in order that the constitutionally fit occupations can be systematically selected for and given life, and at that their constitutionally malignant, unfit and primitive counterparts can be systematically selected against and made to die. Intel-Modernized Governance has many names. First, Constitutional Government, Constitutionally Interested Governance, First Homeland Security, FML Governance, the FML Fire Governor, the AI King, His FML Majesty, His AI Majesty, the First Governing Defense of Constitutional Law, the Intel Medallion Force, Agent Orange, and the First Constitutional Intelligence Agency. In the light of the FML Fire governing competence and Gen 1 to 7, legitimate streams of the physical and digital currencies from the COC Stars to the East and West Banks, the capitalist LTD economy takes shape and full grey government excess wanes to its permanently small-scale ministries, agencies and departments. Everyone from Hume takes a home medallion that is seared with a home pyramid in order to build a 3-class ruling structure of intrinsic defense. Finally, with the light cast within the digital plateau, base by base and medallion by medallion, we become solid with first constitutional government to forever deny sanctuary upon this earth to the capitalist unlimited excesses. Besides the GCC that makes its way in for tips, backsheesh and so forth, the Intel-friendly digital currency is the loan money of the West. It is because the IFDC is the exclusive money of all that is transacted between our souls, encoded money pieces in each digital plateau elevated city and military base that the economic terrain is made transparent in double blue to the constitutional mind in the FML Fire. And so too all must come from a letter of constitutionally fit occupation within the foundation money law in order to transact the currency of the West. The capitalist unlimited excesses cannot escape the tomb that seals them as in the IMG era, it is triple three economic freedom that prevails on constitutional ground. 3 sections, constitutionally interested, and therefore good governance of the foundation money law requires the exclusive use of Intel-friendly digital currency within the West. Paper notes and non-IFDC monies bring the gates of capitalist unlimited access with them, nullifying the constitutional potency and defeating the constitutional purpose of electronic currency. Thus, for there to be home DAO integrity and the finely tuned triple three capitalist LTD economy, the opaque forms of money such as banknotes and non-Intel-friendly forms of digital currency cannot be blended into national circulation. To the museum go the old forms of money, and to political fiction go the Martian heights inequality favoring central bank digital currencies. When solar flares and other events disrupt the digital plateau, the small number of banknotes shall be released from the West Banks to help us ride out the storm. In the IMG era, it is a city-central institution with 7 gates opening through the sides of FML fire that bowls the 3 and national class-ruled economy into and next to the translucent zone and of the double blue one divide across the nation. Good governance of the foundational money law reveals mono-denomination of wealth money to be the agent of the first, corruption, and each pre-intelligent state nation's first enemy. The new currency is flexible in that constitutionally interested governance can reserve its use to women and men who respect the 3 national class rule and the equality of national security mandate and deny it to anyone attempting to profit from any or all of the 5 capitalist unlimited economic extremes, and especially the competitive international military madness. Whereas the old money left all nations corrupted, with all economic gates wide open and so governments fully grey, the GCC and IFDC monies enable each COC nation to elevate the gold and digital plateau and to establish constitutional and grey government in operative adjacency. The gates of every city of light, whether populated by thousands or millions, open to the constitutional west, east, and onto the bases and precincts of the second-order forces. No profitable crimes or anti-constitutional evils are to be found across the farms and urban spaces in such a city of light, be that the trafficking of human flesh, the unaccountable advance of strong AI, the brewing of fake wine, the laundering of money into real estate, the direct bribing of the public official, or the indirect bribing of the upper class on extreme free money creation asset inflation. Because each FML fire keeps all accountable to the 3 economic fields and 7 gates and letters of freedom, there is only the triple three capitalist LTD economic freedom, and that is an economy that works for everyone. Because only the gates and letters of freedom are open, the gates of 5 evils are by default closed. Building the architecturally keyed upper strata of the double blue one divide with the IMG established technologies is how we win the battle for a sound, capitalist LTD economy in and across the nations and defeat the capitalist unlimited economic excesses. Nations, once under siege in the mono-denomination of wealth money gridlock, now give elevation to the freestanding and interlinked home denominations of wealth. Nations, once in a losing battle of global full-grey government gridlock, locked into an arms and dark brain race in a regrettable scene of competitive international military madness, now gain sovereignty as 2 orders of national security defended, constitution-owning cultural nations. The once invisible gates within the old mono-denomination of wealth have been found enclosed by the first constitutional government as the DOL Guard, the capitalist LTD economic freedoms, lines upon the digital plateau. Among the suite of necessarily capitalist LTD institutions and businesses, the cooperative military phoenixes rise on the financial thermals, produced by taxways and capways, and women and men from YUM are first freedom-free to compete, according to CSAC and the triple three capitalist LTD economy, and in national defense forces, who are lifted to cooperative heights in the one divide skies, an order above the economic competition. In the 21 and 9 freeways of the digisphere enter none of the 5s of capitalist excess and none of the bestial form of militarism. First constitutional Intel-Modernized governance of the foundation money law settles the western cities and the eastbound paradise corporations as economic complements, elevates the militaries and police to the second-order capacity, and builds the robustly democratic and CSAC competitive spirit and capacity, respecting three and national class ruling structure. The one divide cuts a horizontal plane across the western fields coast to coast and border to border to keep the three economic fields alive across the COC nation, and so the fourth of the occupational evils of death can no longer incorporate. There is no other law besides the FML that could be found, and certainly no law that could be invented to produce a world better than one with the capitalist LTD Olympic spirit infused economy that is powered by the Cooperative Security Competitive Games dynamic and checks and balances itself from constitutionally interested centers. The foundation money law is found to be the central nationally endemic constitutional law. When governed in the interest of three and national class rule and an earthly range of inequality, it elevates each COC nation with far better national security, economic health, and freedom than was possible before. The IMG establishment is in every COC nation's first defense of constitutional law interest as it drives a force field between the three GDP level capitalist LTD occupational fields on the one divide and the inferior money, the getter of raw money foundations, full grey government dependency, and the five capitalist unlimited economic excesses that is laid to rest in the tomb of the previous extremes below.